Welcome back. The weather's certainly changed, hasn't it? Typical British introduction for you. How's the weather doing? In that pressing matters. Alrighty, so I'm back again. But I'm struggling a little bit. I'm just wondering what the real reason is why. Now, granted, I'm here, so I've obviously got a particular reason, or a varying reason, but you can hear it through the network in one capacity or another. Yeah, it's like, some assistance please. Assistance with what exactly is the question, isn't it? I am going to assume, and I say assume, it's more of an educated guess, reassurance, isn't it, really? Some form of sense of direction. Some information to try and balance the playing field out a little bit. Maybe. I mean, I've gone through a lot over the last 10 years. I say I've gone through a lot, but we've covered a great deal over the last 10 years. And in a manner of speaking, you're kind of facing it all in one kind of hit at the moment, aren't you? Since the departing of the last Prime Minister, and a lot of the concentration being focused on this Brexit and trying to negotiate an exit, yeah, I suppose when you see the front end of it all, of money being moved around to deal with one matter or another, along with various other things going on within Parliament, it's gonna feel like a storm going on, I suppose. Right, where do I start? We've covered a lot. I have. When looking at it all, we have covered everything from homelessness. We've done it time over and mentioned, otherwise proposed ideas of reutilising old housing stock. This benefits the building industry, reduces crime, whether it's petty or not. It also reduces the use of police resources where they could be used elsewhere, increases revenue, it reduces poverty and increases opportunity. We've dealt with railways. Upgrade what you currently have, reduces costs, it reduces environment and ecosystem damage. Non-direct route times become just that bit quicker. It helps the construction industry. We've covered borders. It speeds up transportation of goods and remain, or that keeps an eye on free movement, reduces unsanctioned goods. The biggest one, well, the biggest two that we worked on, that are still rolling out at the moment, is taxation, which is the digitalisation of it all, the faster processing times, a little bit more accurate, especially given issues that I'm currently facing with them. And that is that at the end of the day, everything is recorded, nothing gets lost, and accountability falls with the right person, doesn't it? We're taking into consideration now, and more so now, and especially over the next 12 months, educational factors, or the funding of education. We've even looked at changing a few statuses, restructuring education as an establishment in itself, looking at continuity of academia, which will in turn improve output and to help the economy some things we've just covered already, improve home lives, and personally help people themselves. Now, there are still holes and gaps within all of that, that need to be addressed, but again, on the right track. When we're talking about personally, in turn, falls back to what we were saying before about homelessness. It negates homelessness. It does. Then the additional funding that's coming now will invariably assist towards creating further opportunities. Now, within all of that, we've even had a look at the law. We have the judiciary. There's the general infrastructure and the level of impartiality, ensuring it's not being politicised. Yeah. We've even explored how the environment, which is effectively the housing, energy, industry, political skill base. And when I say political skill base, when it comes down to the environment, is better understanding the impacts and the extended range of decision making that comes with all of that. Education. We've even explored space exploration, the tech industry, which in turn helps with the development of the tech industry and rolls back across environmental factors, border controls, and so on and so forth. So all of this is intertwined with each other. Even off-planet pursuits will help with global collaborations and improve relationships. So over the past 10 years, a lot of it's all coming to fruition in one particular fashion or another, and it's coming in pretty damn quick. So naturally speaking, you're going to feel it. We've even actually had a look at the political skill base itself, responsibilities, actions and accountabilities, better informed or aligned politicians, equal treatment, and so on and so forth, which in turn we actually looked at equality. Equality in the terms of gender also increases the workforce, the diversity of the workforce, which in turn then increases the knowledge base that the workforce will gain through their human capital. Increases further opportunities, whether it be for the workforce itself, whether it be for the home, whether it be for education or any of the other industries. So by the time we're finished, we have been covering a great deal. A lot of it's coming to fruition, like I said now. I even find still that even though we have covered it and we have tried to push it forward, that we still get repeating behaviours. One of which I found lurking in the archives: Labour peers claims £50,000 in expenses despite never speaking or making any written comment in Lords. So there's still work to be done. It's not going to happen overnight. Within the judiciary, or within the actual social versus the judiciary type thing, about expunging people's criminal records, whether they're being sex offenders or being sex offenders, or whether it be criminal convictions of any particular majoring source, for which I have passed comments on as and when I see them come up. For instance, to do so with that would be holistically unethical, and it would even illogical to that extent. If you're going to do things like that, then you would place a time frame on it, much like I was saying in the comment, that you would have a look at, say for instance, the financial side of things. There's a 6 year, well, between 1 and 6 year time frame on them. So the best thing for you to do is based on the conviction itself, you place a 1 to a 6 year time frame on it. But again, it's based on behaviour, isn't it? It's based on what that person does with their time. Yeah? There's no point getting rid of somebody's record if indeed, or clearing somebody's record if indeed they're consistently doing what they're doing, be it overtly or covertly. Doesn't matter, does it? Yeah? Now, when it comes down to the matter of Brexit, keeping this short and to the point, well, I wouldn't say to the point, because at the end of the day, I did say to you I was just going to leave you to it for the time being while I crack on with my other stuff. Shadow Crown Services is receiving upgrades in the background. Now, there's background upgrades to be able to help with business operations and whatnot, serving its customers or its eventual customers and so on and so forth. To work on leads for other work and whatnot. How, in general terms of speaking, how it all comes together, whether it be ERM or whether it's CRM or whether it's invoicing or whether it's, project management or any of them aspects, whether it's delivery of these blogs or news feeds. So there's a lot going on in the background, along with other stuff that I'm working on as a sidestep. But again, as the educated guesses, they're bringing some form of wisdom or balance or direction to this whole Brexit scenario. Now, the one thing that it all boils back to is, like I was saying, is the crap hitting the fan, isn't it, really? But then the biggest argument within all of this, that is trying to bring it together or pull it apart, is effectively this whole talk about the Constitution. Right? As you look around the planet, in different countries and whatnot, each of them have got constitutions. Yet when talking about this country and people talking about constitutions, as it's already been mentioned, the constitution in this country is largely uncodified. There it is. Yet there's a lot of talk about interpreting the constitution through constitutional law. If there isn't a constitution as such, and certainly not one that's holistically codified, then what is there to interpret? The elements that have been codified are the ones that those who are on the justifiable side of things, and I've used one of them already. There are a few that are available to interpret and work out. The unfortunate truth I found myself looking at is the fact that when talking about constitutional law and interpreting it, what we've actually got is basically looking at things such as parliamentary privileges, which seems to keep coming up time and time over. So what in actual fact is going on is the constitutional law is looking at parliamentary privileges and seeing how it can interpret it and work out more than one way of actually, shall we say, right, the cow is brown. Right, how else do you interpret that? The colour of the cow is brown. A brown cow is a colour and something else. So what we're actually doing is playing with words, or what they're actually doing is playing with words. In actual fact, because there is nothing actually codified, what is actually going on is the reinvention of parliamentary privileges. And each time they find something that could, in theory, work, will get filed and then get ready to be incorporated into them said parliamentary privileges. I don't really feel any sense of disagreement with that, because there isn't, is there? The upshot of it all is all that is happening today is based on the fact that there is no sense of, I guess, yes, guidance, no sense of direction. So by the time you've actually finished, when you look at this whole Brexit matter, what you've got is exactly what I was saying to you before, right? A prorogued government or suspend government It's what I did within the first act of public. Or that was the proposition, but your get out clause, or the caveat is that you can continue with your day as per normal, providing you follow these particular outlines. That's me taking one codified law and creating another codified law, shall we say, or should I say creating something new from the old and then codifying it in parallel and in conjunction with something that already exists. The thing with it wasn't ambiguous either. It actually offered a resolve, a way and means forward for everybody. So the majority can be satisfied most of the time. Yeah? If not all of the time. Now, in the programme, if I was to give a form of interpretation of it all, what we're looking at is prevents undue or unwarranted collusion to overturn majority public vote. Yeah? Focuses the negotiations process and progress. Purely and simply because, and as proven already, there are too many chiefs and not enough Indians. A decision was already made. Your job as a politician was to not interpret that in such a way where it suits you. Your job was to interpret that as a de facto decision. How are we going to make it work? Not, well, we're not going to come out, are we? We're not worrying about what the majority says. We're just going to do it our way anyway, and we're not going to come out. We're just going to do this, this, and this. That's not what you were employed to do. Especially more so when talking about constitutional exercises whereby democracy actually determined a particular outcome for the benefit of the country. Your job is to enact that and to follow through with it in the best way possible. All being told, a pro-government, as if I would actually have taken over fully from the actual first act of public, would have prevented the current chaos and deadlock. What it basically means is as is with a directorship of a company, if a majority vote can't be found, then it's up to the director to make the final decision, isn't it? Yeah? Right. You obviously all can't agree on an outcome. This all seems to me like it will actually work. This is going to happen. This is the best way to roll this out. Let's get it done. Off and away we go. Simple, isn't it? It's done. It's not actually a dictatorship. The opportunity was presented. If the opportunity is not taken up or otherwise actioned upon by a majority consensus, then somebody has to take the lead. Do they not? Yes, they do. You know that as well as I do. So by the time you've actually finished, because of this entire chaos, because of this deadlock, and along with the actual people unwilling to renegotiate to find out which direction to go with, yeah, sometimes it requires a firm hand. And it's not because they're trying to be dictators. In my case it wouldn't be. It's the case of, right, it's maintaining a stable centre-pin. And as others within the news are actually saying, don't panic over Brexit. We will find a resolve. As a nation, we will find a resolve. I would like to believe the government can actually find a resolve, and which is what acts as back to some of the things we were saying before. As I've been speaking with you all over the years, my interest has always been about making sure that both parties within this deal finds the ideal resolve to move forward with, even when it comes back to rolling back to the original core of the agreement. Yeah? as we were looking at it, UK and EU future, border controls have been proposed, will not only benefit the new EU, the new relationship between the EU and the UK, but it will set a new standard of border control world over to prevent unsanctioned movements of goods and people. If done properly, then it's something that can be utilised world over. It is. It's not about isolating anybody, it's not about cutting people off, it's making sure that this globalisation and the JIT system all operates fluently enough to be able to, for everybody to get what it is they need and want. What I've found over the years is in fact the problem lies with all the governments. Yes, fair enough. Again, there's that autonomous function. It needs to be some form of leadership there to keep things moving. But again, that arcs us back to what we were saying before, when we look at education and when we look at political skill base. Okay? So when you start looking at this in its detailing, fair enough, you can't see exactly what it is I'm saying, but when you do start to look at it, then it all pieces itself together and it all points itself, unfortunately, in a one particular direction, doesn't it? Yeah? Businesses in themselves, and no one understands this, businesses in themselves are not actually the problem. Right? The problem lays within the system itself. Yeah? Which leads us on to, I suppose, in a manner of speaking, into this other element when we look at forming relationships and how all of this Brexit's coming around, prorogued government and basically the constitutional aspects of it all. It leads us on to this element of caretaker of government. And it does. And that's where we can wrap things up. It is. I had to nip out for a moment. What? Caretaker government. No. Taking all things into consideration, looking at it from an actual, or trying to be as impartial as possible with it all, I would look at, looking at the whole dynamics of all of this, I would have actually gone as far as to say that having the opposition government in as a caretaker government, or at least its leader, not really, no. If not in general terms, overall, you would be actually be looking at a kind of like a conflict of interest in some ways, because what you've actually got is somebody who, or rather a party, that has stood opposition to everything that's been put across, not necessarily from myself. Naturally speaking, they're going to stand in opposition anyway, but that being said, they're not going to act in any more of an interest of the country's need. They're not. They're going to, in a manner of speaking, will follow through with their political ideological alignment. It's very simple, really. I would actually go as far as to say it would have to be a neutral person. It would. A neutral person is not going to come from either party. And it's not. Because, well, simply, the current government has its own vested interest to maintain its own appearance. The government in opposition, be it the next largest in number, is going to have their own interest in play, or in mind, or however you wish to verse it, really. You're definitely going to need somebody who has more nous and wherefore than pretty much most of the leaders that are currently being presented in front of a camera. You know? All being told, all of this kind of smacks of everything that was being done back in 2009. It kind of pushes me in a way to reevaluate my kind of approach, or kind of my approach to my reluctance to want to get any further involved in all of this. It has. It's one of the reasons why once I've finished doing some of the things that I'm doing, I am going to push forward. Push forward with utilitarian Democrats. I will do what is required to lead the party and move on, and with your support, lead the country in that regard. I would go as far as to say, with this proroguing of government, or suspension of government, that if anything else is really to actually come from this, I think the first act of public should in fact take over, because it's actually in the country's interest. It is. There is no real defence being presented to any party to lead a form of caretaker government. It's not going to last for long anyway. It's only in there for a month. It is. Up until a point where it's generated of enough idea as to what it's going to do once it comes out the other side. Isn't it, really? Like I said, we covered elements of the reasoning behind the proroguing of government. And those 4 points are pretty much as close to the truth as you're going to get, without actually tapping into the psyche of the individuals who decided to, well, basically come up with the idea at the end of the day. So, as in a sense of reassurance, I suppose it could actually be a good thing that the government is being suspended, because what it does do is it puts a kind of blockade in place to give people the opportunity, or politicians, MPs, the opportunity to calm themselves down, think this through. He was presented with an opportunity to reshape the country and the country's image for its benefit, to then the eventual benefit of all those around it. But within its usual grandeur, you mess things up again. What am I going to do with you all? Seriously, it's got nothing to do with me. The upshot of it all is you've made the mess. Right? In grand style, you've all been banging your drums and nobody gets heard, when in actual fact people have already made their voice and opinion known. The only reason that the Remain voice is getting heard over and over again is because the leavers, or those who voted to leave, or granted they may have not exclusively or explicitly said Brexit, no deal, out, yada, they accepted the result. It's win or lose. But they accepted the result and they've effectively just allowed you to get on with it. What we've got is the orchestrators are those who sat in the background, who stand to lose from a European Union relationship, economically and politically. That's the only real reason. As soon as they accept the fact that this is a new challenge, people are supposed to be in the position whereas you're able to see the challenge and effectively overcome it. Find new ways or innovative ways to be able to adapt to change, make good of a bad situation, and so on and so forth. But you're not, are you? You're acting like spoilt brats. Simple. End of story. Not interested in any more of your responses. The point of the matter of all of this is that a majority vote was made. MPs have tried to find a resolve and in grand fashion messed it up. They keep banging the drum at each other, arguing between each other, and still not coming to a form of resolve. And in turn, within the digs of it being autocratic, what other approach have you got left in order to create some form of, well, order out of chaos? The only difference is the martial law in the context of disorder and chaos. It's not necessarily martial law on the public, is it? This is not a form of an enactment to try and quell public chaos. It's to quell the chaos that you're creating within yourselves. End of story. There it is. So there are some good valid reasons behind why a government should be prorogued. But again, falling back to it, caretaker government will more likely cause more harm than good. You may as well just continue in the vein that you are. But if one does have to come into play, because the proroguing continues longer than what it needs to, for whatever the reason, then it shouldn't be either party. As is with the term of what a caretaker government is, neither parties should take over, be its leader or whatever. It should in fact be somebody who is a bit more independent and has more understanding as to what's going on and is not influenced by it all. Yeah? Will look beyond what's in front of them and see what needs to be done and overcome that challenge. Yeah? Not only just for the benefit of this country, but taking into consideration again all those surrounding them. Yeah? Seeing as I'm in the mood for making presentations of, well, yeah, I'm going to do it, I'm the leadership. I'll do it. No, seriously, you know where I live? Hey. In all fair honesty, though, it needs to happen in something of this magnitude needs to happen to get the houses back in check again. And it does. That is the sense of reassurance that I can offer you. That is a sense of direction, guidance and understanding that I can give you. Because putting aside the in-house fighting and the fighting between each party and the fights within the parties is as bad as each other. Right? This is all about a power grab. This is all about insecurity. They're so used to having two wages, money for nothing, there's pensions, golden handshakes and so on and so forth. Life is so great, it's all going to be snatched away from them. Oh no, it's about the economy. Oh no, it's about our healthcare and the rest that goes with it. It's got nothing to do with that. If it had something to do with that, I will guarantee you here and now, if it had something to do with that, we wouldn't be in the state we're in now, would we? Go on, argue with me. I'm listening. If it was anything to do with that, would we be in the state we're in now? Would austerity be kicking in and so on and so forth to generate enough cash to pay for membership fees to feed into a large pot? Would all the MPs be scrabbling around trying to get their expenses in because they don't want to pay for it out of their overinflated pockets and in amongst their own other jobs? Somebody's probably, I feel like somebody's daring to say no. No, it's not. You've dared to actually work on a project. You've dared to try and elevate the status of other countries and so on and so forth. See, there's the word, other countries. But other countries, such as the ones that were in serious need, what was it, Italy and Spain and whatnot, some of the members are falling flat on their faces. What happened there? What I see is Germany and France getting better within all of this. If you really want to start poking fingers and start wagging about who does what, why, when and what for, I think within the grandeur of it all, you've messed up. And you think by creating a closer knit and drawing more and more in, if this hadn't have been brought to the front, if this hadn't been addressed, things could have been far worse. You're in the position you're in now. It's a challenge for you to overcome. This is to the MPs, this is to all those in the political realms. Sometimes, no, you might not like my attitude. Sometimes I come across in a cryptic fashion. But then I do what I do for a reason. And that reason's already been made clear. Now, for the general social aspect of it all, as I've said before, and I'll say again, just keep an eye on them. Right? Ensure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's not something else. This includes the law realms. Pay attention to the cases that have been presented to you. Like, it's not just wordplay and encouraging you to see things for where they want you to see them. Yeah, that's the position you're in. I'm sorry, I don't want to be the one that's I'm not sitting here wishing or wanting to actually teach you how to suck eggs. Right? Let's consider it as confirmation, reinforcement, or a third person perspective. Yeah? The idea is just be mindful of what's being presented to you. Yeah? Right. In and amongst all that experience, I trust that this will be done and delivered and rolled out in the way it's supposed to be. Trust and be assured that things are developing in the background on this side of it all. Yeah? And when the party comes online in its full grandeur and its full form, its main aim is a clean-up exercise still. If you're in the path and you're in its way, doesn't matter how deep your pockets are, it doesn't matter how far back your threads go. As soon as you try anything, I will just like the blue touch paper and I'll just watch it go and I'll follow them threads. You know what? Remember, we're doing this for the betterment of everybody. In order to be able to help other people, we have to first clean up our own home. Yeah? That was said right from the beginning. I've maintained that right throughout, and it's not going to change. And it's not. Why? Because it better benefits us, and it benefits everybody around us. It may be in that order, it may be stepping stones. Benefit us, benefit them. benefit us, benefit them. Benefit them, benefit us. Benefit them, benefit us, benefit us, benefit them. However you wish to formulate it, it's entirely up to you which way you wish to look at it. One way or another, it's all about betterment. Yeah? Right. I've kept enough of your time now. I've taken enough of your time. For somebody who didn't really have too much to say, I've really rattled on a bit now, haven't I? Oh, leave me alone. Right, let's leave it there. Remember, I am listening. I'm always listening. I can hear you in the background and amongst the stuff that I'm doing. Don't ever worry about that. I have not gone too far. Yeah? Just keep calling if you need me. I am paying attention, and I will find the time to sit down, work through all the information, try and draw out some key points and whatnot, and then we'll sit here and hash it out. Yeah. Eventually there will be better presentation system, text for you to read through, and you can see what it is I've been looking at and so on and so forth. Yeah. So patience. I'm getting there. I'm progressively getting there, and then once I've got this platform ready to use, then we'll start taking people on board, and then it can help shape or reshape and so on and so forth. Yeah. Main thing is I get the idea there, and then everybody can see it then properly, and they'll know exactly what needs to happen and when. You enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you've had a good summer so far and everything, and I will be back again soon.